The staff of Love It or Leave It is nothing but hardworking, intrepid people diligently crafting the perfect segments using humor and insight to shed light on important issues affecting our nation. So here for a segment they pitch called Tall Things Considered, it's author and tall person and co-host of NPR's All Things Considered, Ari Shapiro. Ari Shapiro, my friend.
I remember when you were just a lowly White House speechwriter.
Sure you do.
We would hang out on my patio in Washington, D.C.
I've never loved someone who I always felt so inferior in the presence of than you when we were back in that patio, because my life was a shambles.
You know what I love about you is that you carry your untidiness into your work life. Some of us have such different work-home we cover when we're at work, but not you.
Me.
You just scatter things
Not
everywhere, all over the floor.
The
Jon Lovett I've known and loved for years.
I would barely be able to know where I was supposed to be or get there. My clothes are wrinkled to this day.
You look great.
I'd eat a Popeyes sandwich and race over to say hello to my friend Ari, and he'd have a bottle in his backyard with a stem of a tree inside of it and a pear growing inside the bottle, because a year before he had decided to make some kind of pear cordial.
Yeah, I grow pears in bottles. It's true.
The kind of fucking planning that takes.
I quote you in my book saying something that I've remembered for many, many years.
Oh yeah, what was it?
Well, you were sitting on my back patio and you did an impersonation of me in which you said, "Oh, that chair, funny story about that chair. Martha Stewart and I carved that chair out of a larger chair."
Yeah.
True friendship. True friendship.
His life was always together. It's amazing. And you fit...
For the record, I've never met Martha Stewart.
You haven't?
Have I? Somebody said
Wait,
yes,
I'm sorry.
I have.
He has. You know that, or you just... You met Martha Stewart.
There was an a cappella group. Well, it clearly wasn't a very memorable meeting.
But this is
Who
what
is
I'm
that
talking...
was in an a cappella group with me that's sitting out there? Maya Sykes in the house.
This is what I'm talking about. He has met Martha Stewart. It left no impression.
I don't even remember it. Hi, Maya. Hi,
All right.
John.
You're here to promote your new book, but you're also, must be said, pretty tall.
Can I drop the title? The Best Strangers in the World.
The Best Strangers in the World. Please brace yourself as I ask you both in this segment, pitched specifically by our incredible writer, Sarah Lazarus, who's here tonight.
Thank you, Sarah.
A segment that once we heard it, we had to do it.
Yeah.
Tall Things Considered.
The logo alone is worthy of applause. I wish the podcast listeners could see this beautiful adaptation of the All Things Considered logo to just add a T and hang it around the neck of a giraffe.
Your book, The Best Strangers in the World, is about the best strangers in the world that you've met.
Not the other ones.
Who are the worst strangers you've met? What were they doing, and was it on an airplane?
I did a comedy cabaret recently at the Kennedy Center.
Of course
no
you
big
did.
deal.
Unfucking believable.
And I sang this old Noel Coward song.
'Cause you can sing.
Called "Why Do the Wrong People Travel?" And I introduced it by saying my new book is called The Best Strangers in the World, and I'm no expert on the metaverse, but I believe that advanced particle physics states that the existence of the best strangers must therefore imply the existence of other strangers, and this is a song about them. And then I sang the Noel Coward tune, "Why Do the Wrong People Travel?"
My anecdotes are all about how I had to go to the bathroom at a Taco Bell. He's singing Noel Coward at the Kennedy Center. So frustrating. You're 6'3".
I am, yeah.
Should people be allowed to recline their seats on airplanes?
I take the aisle seat for that reason, because I am not going to tap somebody on the shoulder or the back. Yes, they should be able to, but airplanes should not make the seats so close together.
No.
It's not the fault of the recliner. It's the fault of the airplane maker. Blame the system, not the individual who's trapped within the system.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That is the correct moral answer.
I don't get the ding that Abraham Josephine Reisman got for the correct moral
There
answer.
we go.
Thank you.
You write about taking the time to listen to each other.
I'm sorry, I was trying to listen to Lovett.
You write about taking the time to listen to others and find the things we have in common.
Yeah.
Our common humanity over things that divide us. Now, how do you do that if you're talking to a Republican legislature who just banned gender-affirming care and you're a trans person who has to go to the bathroom?
I'm going to give you actually a real answer to that question, if you don't mind an anecdote.
That's why you're here.
Okay, so I see my role as not to influence but to illuminate, right? And so I, after Trump said he was going to eliminate HIV in America by the year whatever, went to the place in the United States that has the highest rates of HIV infection, Mississippi. And it tends to be among black men who have sex with men. And the reason rates are high there has to do with a lot of things: access to healthcare, stigma, and on and on and on. So I get to Mississippi and I download an app called Jacked, where black men who have sex with men tend to meet up with each other. I create a profile that says, I am a journalist looking to talk with people. And so I got some great interviews out of it. And then I sat down with a state lawmaker who had sponsored a bill that allowed doctors in Mississippi to deny care based on moral objections. And my goal in talking with that state legislature, and it doesn't take any great leap to imagine how I felt about that law, but I wasn't trying to tell him why the law was wrong, why he shouldn't have pushed it. I wasn't trying to nail him against the wall. I was truly trying to figure out where he came from. And in that conversation, there was a moment where he said to me, well, now look, if there were like a daily pill you could take to prevent HIV infection, that would be one thing. And I said to him, as a matter of fact, there is. It's called Truvada. It's, shorthand PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis. We had a real conversation. And I wasn't there to change his mind. He wasn't there to change my mind. But in this story, in which I wanted to illuminate the challenges of ending HIV in America through the lens of what was happening in Mississippi, talking to this guy, and not talking to him to make him look bad, but talking to him to really hear where he was coming from, was a key ingredient in that recipe.
The New York Times published a whole article called Yes, They Are Tall. No, They Don't Play Basketball. About tall people who are frustrated by constant questions about whether they're good at basketball. My question to you is this. Ari, are you good at basketball?
You know what I'm going to tell you, Jon Lovett. I used to be very serious about parkour.
Oh, my goodness.
You know this. You
I know
remember.
This, I remember this because I went with you.
We did parkour together
in a park
in DC. Yeah,
and
we were climbing on walls and jumping over.
It was like a gazelle galloping majestically through a park, dragging me behind.
I'm picturing like Timon and Pumbaa in The Lion King, So
I saw this cup come up and go down.
I am one of three boys. I'm the middle. My older brother and I are both very tall. My younger brother is not. And of the three of us, my younger brother was the only one who ever cared about playing basketball.
Have you watched Tall Girl on Netflix?
Is that a real show, or did you make that up?
It seems real. It's italicized.
The answer to that question is no, I have not.
It's real.
Okay.
What's a question you might ask someone to get their guard down if they're approaching you with skepticism?
Is that about being tall?
No.
Oh.
They're alternating. That one's about the book.
Okay. You mean just like making small talk, chatting them up?
Yeah, just getting someone to loosen up.
Oh, it just depends entirely on the scenario. I'll tell you, I hate, when people are trying to get a voice level, they often say, what'd you have for breakfast? Which makes people either feel like they have to prove themselves or they get intimidated and embarrassed about what they had for breakfast. I never do that. Some people go with, what was your first car? But I don't really like that one because my first car was a bicycle and I didn't buy a car until the pandemic. I used to ask people if they ever memorized a poem in high school or college that they could recite to me, but you wouldn't believe the number of people who have never memorized a poem in their entire life.
I'm going to throw this cup across the fucking stage.
I don't have a go-to question. I get a vibe and I try to make real conversation, real small talk.
My answer is the leftover Oreo cheesecake from Cheesecake Factory from the night before.
That sounds delicious. That was your first car?
In a New York Times op-ed, Mara Altman, who is 5 feet tall, proposes that when you mate with shorter people...
Mate. Procreate.
I'm quoting the word. I see the problem, but she said mate, I say mate. With shorter people, when you do that with shorter people, you're potentially saving the planet by shrinking the needs of subsequent generations. Lowering the height minimum for prospective partners on your dating profile is a step towards a greener planet.
That may well be true, but given the number of steps we need to take to save the planet, I'm not sure that ranks in the top 25.
But I can't have a fucking straw? How tall is your husband, and do you feel like marrying him was ethical? Height-wise.
First of all, my husband and I are not procreating.
Really important point.
Really important point. Second of all, he believes he's about as tall as most people. And third of all,
we agree.
You are well aware,
he is.
Spiritually. Spiritually, he is as tall as most people.
This is free. And he is, right?
And he is. Oh, yes. And he is. Thank you for that.
Am I tall enough?
For procreation?
That's the question. Nope, just generally speaking, am I tall enough?
Stand up. Yeah, I'd say you are. What do y'all think? Yeah? Tall enough? Tall enough.
I like being short. I don't care. It's like the one thing I don't care about. in the soup of self-consciousness and anxiety swirling around, the
Tallness
fuel
is not
that
in it.
runs this fucking car,
Yeah.
that's not there for some reason. The one thing I don't care about. Isn't that amazing?
Good for you. Build on that. Build on that.
That's what Dr. Christie says. And finally, James Madison was 5'4", but he was elected in 1808. Do you think America is ready for another short king or queen in the White House?
I mean, I married one, not in the White House, but yeah, sure. Oh,
Well,
did I just call him short?
We were so close. You were almost out of it. It was the last question.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the last barrier yet to be broken besides the whole woman in the White House thing.
Yeah, it's the last one. Thank you so much, Ari. His book is The Best Strangers in the World. Everybody check it out.
Thank you, Jon Lovett.
It's a delight.